Divination tools such as tarot, runes, I Ching, etc., 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 are often considered to be a requirement to a magic user. Magicians, witches alike, it's just one of those things that is thought to be a requirement within the practice of magic. But is it really? I just want to discuss that and also go a bit more into scrying, because that is my preferred method. And not just the divination side, but also the evocation side and the astral doorways that you can open up portals and things like that. So I just want to have a brief look at that. So let's get into it. Okay, so divination tools. Now, tools is probably the big word here. They are merely tools, and they are tools for the intuition. So when you are using tarot or runes, you are forming a pattern that speaks to your intuition, and the cards themselves, or the symbols, the glyphs, they have certain representations. So on one hand, you are kind of spirit-led to pull certain cards or certain runes or cast the I Ching in a certain manner, and they fall in a certain way, which could indicate that it is spirit-led. But once you have those cards, those symbols in front of you, you then interpret them. And the interpretation is very much based not just on the actual meanings and definitions of those images, but also your own intuition, how you put each one together. So for instance, I mean, if you pull out the Two of Cups, then it usually indicates a love relationship, soulmates, things like that. But if it is in reference to business you have a lot of cards coming out which are indicating perfection of craft, business-related things and opportunities, then it might not be about soulmates and love relationships. It might actually be about partnerships, business partnerships. So those interpretations need to come into play as well, and those are usually relative to your own intuition. Now, when it comes to divinatory tools, I'm not actually a huge fan. I know there are a lot of people out there who absolutely love tarot. They collect deck after deck, and they love reading them, they love using them, and that's perfectly fine. But it seems to have become a requirement within magical training to pick up tarot cards and become proficient in reading them. And there are some people out there who don't really enjoy the divinatory tools, and actually tools in general. Me personally, I prefer to use what I have on me, and that's my mind, my body, whatever I've got, and direct energy in that way, or interpret things with my own intuition. So I am actually an intuitive reader, meaning that I don't actually, or very rarely, use tools to actually divine. I intuitively read somebody, I intuitively read a situation. There are times when I do pull out the cards. If I just can't get a read on something or someone, then I will pull out the cards and I will read the cards. But to say I'm proficient at it, I wouldn't say that at all. When I lay out the cards, I connect my intuition to them, and I'm just, it basically helps my intuition along. But I don't rely on the cards entirely, and I don't think anybody should actually. I think everybody needs to understand that it is about your intuition and how you can read a situation or a person, and the tarot cards or the runes are merely there to actually help that along. to give you some kind of pattern that you can actually follow and read into the situation. But your intuition needs to play a lot more than I think some people are aware of. You know, there's a lot of readers out there. All the good readers are the ones who actually do use their intuition more than anything else. But they still use the cards because, you know, it's something they're accustomed to. It's something they enjoy doing, and they get the results that they need. But at the same time, they understand that it is about the intuition. So I guess there's a bit of a different perspective than what most people are used to. Because if somebody comes writing a blog or an article or doing a video on YouTube about divination and divinatory tools, it's usually in praise of them, or to talk about their huge collection of tarot cards. But when it comes to divination, I mean, what does it actually mean? It's not fortune telling. I think we know that much at least. But divination is about picking up on the flow of the energy that's happening in someone's life or a situation, and then following that flow of energy to its possible outcome. Now that outcome can be changed. There's no reason that it can't be. It's not set in stone. Even with palmistry, you'll find that somebody will have their palm read, and it indicates a certain outcome. And over the course of years, that outcome can be changed, and the lines on the hand will actually change. So, you know, there is nothing set in stone. This is why when it comes to hard fatalism, I'm not completely convinced that, you know, our destiny and our fate are there and there's nothing we can do about it. And whatever we do is part of what fate determined for us at the very beginning. Because those things can be changed. The argument can be made that, yes, that was part of your fate. You know, you were supposed to go and have your palm read. You were supposed to find out what the outcome was, where your path is going, and therefore you were supposed to change it, and that was your fate. But, you know, there's an argument for both sides, so we can't really say which is which, I don't think. So divination is about going with the flow, following the flow of energy that is taking place. Now, all of these divination tools can be used for, well, most of them can be used for other things besides just divination. If you look at the tarot itself, it's the major arcana tells a story. It's the hero's journey. So there's a story within the actual images, within the cards itself, and they take you through a flow from beginning to completion. But the tarot cards specifically can be used as astral gateways and portals. And I found this especially prevalent in Golden Dawn practices, where you actually sit and you visualize a certain tarot card in front of you, and then you actually step into the scene or through the card astrally. So you use the tarot card as an astral gateway. And there's other tools that you can use exactly the same. The tattvas, for instance, these are symbols like the black egg, the red triangle for fire, you know, etc., etc. Some systems have about 36 tattvas, I think, but the tattvas themselves are said to be elements of reality. And you can use them for visualization, you can use them during breath work, you can also use them as divination tools, but again, they can be used as astral gateways. So, you know, there's more to these tools than just divination and just reading them to try and determine an outcome for a situation, or the energy flow, the path that someone's taking and where that path is leading them to. There's a lot more to them than just that. and scrying. Now, scrying I love. It's just, it's what it, you know, tarot might fascinate someone and they love it to no end. Scrying is my passion, my love in this arena. Now, scrying can be done in a lot of different ways. You can use a pool of water, a bowl of water. You know, scrying, you can use a mirror, a dark mirror or just a normal mirror, a silver mirror, a crystal ball, just an orb of some kind. You can use a convex or a concave piece of metal, for instance, and just paint it black, shiny black or something like that. Something that you can just gaze at and find the center of, and then, you know, go from there. So I myself have a very large mirror, which I can't show you because it's with my altar, and I don't really make my altar public. You know, my main working altar at least. So anyway, so it's a very big mirror. It stands about 1.5 meters high. It's about 1.2 meters wide. And I use that. That's one of the mirrors I use for scrying and for portal work. So I'm not going to get into the portal work too much. This is sort of an overview mostly. But you would sit in front of it and then you astrally walk through the mirror into the other realms. I do have a dark mirror, but I don't use that as much. I prefer this method, which I'm going to show you now. So I have a shallow dish which I put water in, and it's obviously a black surface. And I put that on the floor, and then I've got the 2 candles on the opposite side of where I'm sitting. I did try the candles on my side, but what you find is that when you're gazing, the flames kind of create a bit too much glare, and you can't actually see the body of water properly. So I put them on the other side, and then I put a sigil on my side, because when I'm doing scrying work, it's usually some form of communication with a spirit, and I ask the spirit to help me with the scrying, and also I use it for evocation work, just to get messages from the spirits and things like that. So the sigil is on my side, 2 candles on the opposite side. It forms a triangle, so you can actually consider this also a triangle of art. And then I have some incense on the far side, just to waft a bit of smoke across it. It helps with the whole process. And sometimes with evocation work, the smoke can actually start forming apart from what you're seeing in the actual scrying mirror. But now with a dark mirror, there's lots of people who have explained how to make a dark mirror. You can take just a normal A4 size picture frame and take the glass out and then paint the one side or the opposite side black, and then you put it all together and you've got a dark mirror. So, and you can add elements to the paint. You can add your blood to it. You can add an elixir to it, a fluid condenser, whatever you want to do with it, and whatever the purpose for it actually is, and whatever tradition you're actually following. So there's a lot of things you can actually do to enhance the dark mirror itself. What I used to do was actually take the sigil of a spirit, such as Astaroth, some spirit that represents divination, if I was using it specifically for scrying, for divination work, and not for evocation or portal work, then I would take the sigil and I would actually put that behind the glass, so you can't see it, but it's there, and then put the whole frame together and use that. Now, when you're using a dark mirror, you find that people often either hold it and gaze directly at it, or they put it on a frame on the floor or on a table, and they gaze at it that way. But it's usually always facing them. What I found was that if you place it flat on the floor or a table, it actually works just as well, maybe even better. But I think because it's a dark mirror and it's a solid thing, people tend to have this idea that it needs to be, directly facing them. But if you consider that certain scrying methods use bodies of water, you can't lift the water up to face you. It needs to be flat on the floor, or horizontal, because otherwise gravity is just going to make it all disappear. So I found that if you actually take the scrying mirror and you put it flat, it works just as well. And then you actually gaze at the center. And this is why I like using my little shallow disc with the water. It creates a dark mirror perfectly. And when you're scrying, what you want to do is just basically gaze. Don't stare, just gaze. So your eyes are slightly defocused. Not so unfocused that you're just not really seeing anything. But if you start with staring at the center of whatever you're scrying at, and then slowly unfocus your eyes until you get to a point where you feel comfortable, and then just do that. Just breathe. With using an actual mirror, this is very much related to the death posture of spare. So what you might want to actually try, which I do as well, is because of the death posture, you want to sort of try and get this corpse-like state. So when you are gazing at the mirror, your gaze would become fixed, and your breathing becomes very shallow. So you're not breathing deeply. You just let your breathing become natural and just continue doing this, and you find it become more and more relaxed, and your breathing becomes so shallow that it's barely even there. And this actually brings on a trance state as well. So you can do this with the scrying mirror or the body of water, crystal ball, whatever you're actually scrying with. You can use the same method. So just let your breathing become shallow, just become unfocused, slightly unfocused, and then just do that. That's all you do, and just gaze at the center. And what you'll find after a while is that you might start picking up images. You might go into a hypnagogic state. What a lot of people reported in the past, in articles and books, is that what you often see is it's kind of a misty cloud almost, and I don't find that it swirls. A lot of people said that it swirls and it sort of comes out and comes towards you and envelops you, but it's this kind of misty cloud that sort of arises and kind of causes the object you're scrying with to become more defocused, more unfocused, I suppose, because it's kind of covers it. And then you continue, and then you start to see visions, and you might find that whatever you're scrying with just completely disappears, and you go into a vision, a dream, something synonymous with that. So it is very much bringing yourself into a liminal state where you are between waking and sleeping, and you are having those hypnagogic dream visions almost. Best way I can explain it, I suppose. So it does take some practice. I'm not going to lie to you. Some people sit down the first time and wham, there it is. But other people, like me, have to actually work at these things and practice them. I get very jealous of people who can just sit down and do things straight away. But, some people just have to do the work, put in the practice, And you'll get there eventually. It's not like it's impossible or it's only assigned to particular people who have a gift. I think everybody has the ability. Some people are more gifted than others. Some people are more sensitive than others. It doesn't make anybody lesser or greater than anybody else. It just means that, some people have to work a little bit harder. And those people that pick those things up easily, you'll probably find they don't pick other things up easily, whereas you might. So we've all got our areas of natural ability. But anyway, as I say, this was just a brief overview of divination, and I did want to give a bit of a different perspective because, as I said, it's not, although it seems to have become a requirement for magical training. You find it in books, you find it in courses. Every single one of them has something about divination and usually tarot, and the fact that you have to learn it. And I personally don't believe you have to learn it. If it doesn't interest you, if it doesn't come naturally to you, something else will. And it'll be something else that does the same thing or complements it in some way. So I don't think it's a necessity or requirement for magical practice. You might not be interested in it all, but you might be interested in something else. You might find that the I Ching is more exciting than tarot. You might find that the tattvas are incredibly fun to work with. You might find them boring. You've got to actually go through all of them and try and find out which works for you. I don't think you should try and force yourself to learn tarot and become proficient in tarot if it's really just such hard work that you don't want to do it and you get bored with it, and then you're going to just forget about everything. You're going to throw it all away, go, well, it's a requirement, I'm not interested in it, therefore I can't be bothered with magic at all. You try and find the things that work for you, because there's a lot of different tools out there, there's a lot of different paths, there's a lot of different ways to walk a path, and you've got to find those that work for you. So I'm going to stop saying work for you, because I'm starting to repeat myself now. Okay, so that's it for today, and have a great week. I'll see you on Friday. Cheers.